Something that not Vader, sorry, Lucas had been doing since episode 4 was trying to show Vader in his older age. It's been almost 20 years between 3 and 4. And so once he interacts with Luke and he realizes it's his son, you almost start to see this softening of Vader, but it's very slow and it's like very progressive as time goes on. And so there's little instances of it. And even Palpatine in 6 questions it. He says, "You can sense Luke, why can't I?" It's like, I feel like you're a little too emotionally invested in this. And Vader's constantly having to reassure the Emperor, no, don't worry. I'm committed to this. You don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But even Luke hints at it. He's like, I know there's good in you. I'm not going to fight you, even in the fight when they're fighting. But before it all starts, when Luke goes to swing at Palpatine, Vader stops him. And a lot of people think that was Vader protecting Palpatine. But the way that it was written, what it was supposed to be is him protecting Luke from making that decision. Because that whole scene, if you notice, Vader, for the most part, is just watching, other than when they're fighting. But when Palpatine and Luke are interacting, I mean, Palpatine even, like, at one point when Vader and Luke are fighting, Palpatine tells them, "Kill him. You can become my new apprentice. He's old news. We don't need him anymore."
Right.
But it's like all of this time, Vader's had these doubts. And now when he's witnessing the interaction between Palpatine and his son, he's seeing so much of what Palpatine did to him, and he sees so much of himself in his son. And so he's starting to recognize what happened, and he's starting to empathize and sympathize with what's going on with his son. And he doesn't want his son to become him. And I think, because the thing is, 6 and 3 there's so much in between the two movies that is almost intertwined, because there's a lot of mirroring there. And even in 3, you see the scene when you first seen Anakin on Mustafar after killing the Trade Federation and the Separatist leaders.
Right.
You see him standing on that, like, walkway looking out, and like his eyes are just like streaming tears. And what that scene was supposed to like communicate, the point of that scene was to show this isn't what Anakin wanted. He never wanted this. There's still this great turmoil within Anakin Skywalker, and he's not yet fully committed to the character or persona of Darth Vader yet. Even though he's already gone through the temple, he's slaughtered the Jedi. It's like he's still having this inner conflict, and that was what that scene was supposed to show. Was like, this wasn't what he envisioned when he was that boy on Tatooine.
Right.
And so he hates himself. That's one of the things about Darth Vader is he hates who he is and what he's become. But it's almost like he's just like he's resigned to his fate. He sees no other way out. But he definitely doesn't want that for his son. And so that's even why he tried to convince Palpatine in 5 to freeze Luke in carbonite. He didn't want to kill his son. Well, he what he wanted, and that's why you have the whole scene with Han Solo getting frozen in carbonite, is because the whole plot point there was he was going to test the carbon freezing process on another human being before he did it to Luke.
Well, yeah.
And so the fatherly protecting Vader has for Luke, even at the same time they're adversaries. And so you have that scene, you have them fighting later on, and then you finally have Luke when he's lying on the ground being electrocuted to death by Palpatine. And you have what I think is really interesting, and Lucas mirrored this too in episode 3, is this is the exact same choice that Anakin was given right before he cut off Mace Windu's hand. Except the roles are reversed. You have the lightning, you have the electrocuting, you have one person asking for his help. One's the good guy, one's the bad guy. But the last time he was given this decision, he made the wrong choice. But in 6, he makes the right choice, and he takes the same person that was on the ground asking for his help last time, tosses him down the ventilator shaft. And it's like, it was because the mirroring there was supposed to definitively show that was his redemption right there, when he was placed with the almost exact same decision. The difference is now it's his son instead of a different random Jedi master. And it's his redeeming moment because he's given that same scenario, and he's able to remake that, almost like, it's not like he's going back, but it's almost like he's represented with it, and he gets to give a new answer. If you want to put it that way.
Interesting. I think I like a lot of what you just said, and I think especially the mirroring between episode 6 and episode 3 is great. I've never thought of that before. Haven't really introduced with that. that being said, the overflowing love for his son is a nice sentiment, but to kind of push back on that, you have this idea that yes, he was saving his son from killing the emperor in episode 6, right? Why then would he go out and fight his son and try to engage him in mortal combat and then ask him to turn to the dark side again?
You mean in 5?
No, I'm talking about in this
In
movie, in episode
6?
6. Yeah, but also in 5. If he's really like, "Oh, let's just freeze him. I don't actually want to give him up to the emperor." Why then would he say, "Join me and become and do the exact same thing I did, which is turn to the dark side?"
There's still a, because here's the thing, Vader is still, nah, there's still a sense in which Vader is very much a slave to his wants and desires, if you will. He's very much just he's the perfect like example of a fallen hero. There's a part of him that's still pushing back, and that part is Anakin Skywalker, that hero that was always there. And then there's also Darth Vader. And so, like, Vader in so many ways, and I don't want to sound like a stoa kid giving their APOL speech, but he represents like a fallen human being. He can't save himself. Okay? Like, that's the point. And
Yeah.
that's why when you were asking me, like, what is Luke Skywalker in this one, I said, I'm just going to say he's Jesus. Uh,
Okay.
all joking aside, though, like, that's what's so interesting about Vader's character is because he made the decision to give in to his impulses. And as a result, he became a slave to those impulses. And he's now a slave to Palpatine. Like, because he fell, because he became Darth Vader, his suit and his cybernetics and all of the injuries he endured made it so that he was incapable of defeating Palpatine. And Palpatine wanted that. That was his plan all along. He knew Anakin was more powerful than him in his like human form. And he needed him to be in a weaker state, but he knew even in his weaker state, he'd still be a very powerful foe for anyone he wanted to destroy. And so you have that aspect, but you also have just Vader's still a very conflicted character. He doesn't really know what he wants, even in 5. He like even in 3, he expresses to Padme that he's just going to overthrow the Emperor once all this chaos like settles down. That's his plan. And then he gets beat up by Obi-Wan, and he can't do that anymore. And then they later explore that in like comics and legend and stuff. There's different instances where Vader tries to rebel against Palpatine, but he can't. There's like attempts, and Palpatine shuts them down. And so like I'm pretty sure what they were going for was there's a part of Vader that still embraces the darkness. He wants the sun at his side, but at the same time he wants to throw off the shackles of the Emperor, this oppressor that he has, but he still wants the darkness and he still wants the power. And so between 5 and 6, and even in 6, you have him still fighting Luke. And I'm honestly not sure what to say about that part. I think it still goes back to the conflict. Like, he's still conflicted as a character, and he hasn't yet been presented with the choice. And you can even see it when his son is getting electrocuted and is calling out for help from his dad. Vader is still standing over him, just watching it unfold. And it's like you can see him just like his life flashing before his eyes, and he's just questioning like what he should do here. And I guarantee you, again, it's a movie, so you can't really know, but like I think it'd be
Sure.
very believable to say like he's envisioning, he's seeing himself in episode 3, watching Mace Windu and Palpatine, and like he's looking at it, going like, "What have I done?" Because that's exactly what he asked after he made his decision in the 3rd movie. He's like,
Right.
"What should I do? What have I done? What is going to be left of me? Like what is going to be remembered? What am I leaving? What is my legacy?" I don't know what questions were going through his mind, but I'm sure he was questioning everything.
Right. Well, for a character with very few words overall in the movies, that he definitely has a lot of character arc that he goes through. And also you don't even see his face, so it's hard to tell what emotions were playing across his face. But
Which is
yeah,
what
no,
makes
I
him so cool. He's
in case you couldn't
awesome,
tell,
okay?
Andrew is a fan of Darth Vader.
I even
um
have an Anakin minifigure right here.
yeah. See, so here's I think some of those explanations do make sense of the character. So how do I put this? So Anakin Skywalker as a character, and some of this is going to go back to what we discussed when we review those movies, right? Hopefully you're there for that, Andrew. Maybe not. We never know. We'll see.
Oof.
Continue watching. But the view of Anakin as a character from these previous movies, 4, 5, and 6, is someone who is completely subservient to the dark side and to Emperor Palpatine, right? And if you look at the previous movies, I think there is some explanation for that. Primarily, my impression watching those previous movies, which we'll have to review when we go there, but is this idea that this person was constantly fighting for things that he couldn't have and was constantly being rejected in a society that was raising him, right? So in the Jedi Order, while he wants to be a Jedi, he also wants to get married. He wants to be a Jedi Master. He wants to be, doing things that he's not allowed to do and is being forbidden from to betray these people that he's trusted and are his friends, right? Things like that. So he had a lot of lack of trust for the good because he had faced so many obstacles in that situation. Whereas in the dark side, he's presented with this opportunity to do whatever you want, more or less, as long as you obey me, right? You have free reign as long as you obey the emperor. And so, in regards to that, there is some level of insurmountable freedom underneath a giant boot. And
Yeah.
that is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that in episode 3, Anakin is broken. He's underneath all this stress, and when he breaks and joins the dark side, his pendulum swings all the way over and gets stuck there. And it's almost as if he's given up on fighting for the good guys or for the light side. He's acknowledged he has become a monster, and he just acknowledges that and embraces that and just lives that life. And so that goes from him and I think that transformation doesn't just eh, start or it isn't completed in the single instance with Mace Windu, Emperor Palpatine, and Anakin. I think it's fully completed with the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. But anyways,
Yeah, no, that's where it starts. That's like where
right,
it's like the beginning of the end for him.
right. And so once he hits that full level, and you see this even in the Obi-Wan series, right? He's so convinced that he is so given in to this new identity that he's completely given himself over to the dark way of life that he has told himself that the old version of him is dead. This new version
Yeah.
of him is Vader. And so when he's in this situation, he has more or less psychologically programmed himself to always obey the master, to always obey the master. And I think there is some level of us as people, maybe not to the same degree of Darth Vader, but to the degree of we feel like if when we give up on some sort of dream or goals in life, we can just go through the motions and do the things that we have acknowledged is the way we live our lives. And so I think there's some degree of Vader doing that in this situation, that he obeys the master no matter what, because that is what he does. He is Darth Vader. He is not
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker. And so this is the whole struggle with him internally is Luke trying to bring back the old version of Anakin, the virtuous version of Anakin Skywalker, and he is fighting against that internally. He wants that because he knows that's the better version of him. But at the end of the day, he's lived as Darth Vader for 25 years, and that is his life. That is who he
Yeah.
is. And to give that up is such a hard struggle for him internally. And so that's why he says to him, right, when they're on Endor, it's too late for me, right? And when he's at the throne room, which is why I think it makes sense to take the impression that he was defending the Emperor, because at the end of the day, that's what he's trained to do. And the Emperor knew he would do it, which is why he never drew a sword.
I suppose. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the best explanation for any of it is just he was so conflicted at that point.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because if you want to put it in the terms of like Anakin and Vader are two separate people almost fighting for control of the same body. At that point, Anakin had resurfaced. There were like little. It was like there were cracks in Vader's armor, and Anakin was able to shine through in certain instances.
Mm-hmm.
And so Anakin was still shining through even when Vader said, "I am your father, like join me." Like that was for Vader, that was soft. And granted, when it comes to like his
Well, he
family,
had
Vader
made that
does,
promise to previous people in his family. That's just how he works.
yeah, he did it to Padme. Um,
It's
hopefully
always a
that
rule
got
of the
her.
galaxy option. Just buy into the family business.
Yeah. Um,